Thaddeus Cray Productions presents Werewolf Hunter, Chapter 2.
This takes place roughly 2 to 3 years after the events of Chapter 1. I sincerely hope, dear listener, that you enjoy this story. The shack is old, the air heavy, the man terrified and tired. Daryl Abernathy has decided at this moment he will run no longer. He owes people money, the wrong kind of people, the wrong kind of money. But even that does not terrify him. Like what he is facing now terrifies him. The fact is, he is dealing with something more than man, or maybe less. Does it matter truly? He knows that he is in mortal danger, and he cannot allow himself to go out without a fight. That is one thing. Daryl, at times, is not the boldest of men, but he is no coward. He is an Abernathy, and he will fight. The shack he sits in, he had known of it all the way from childhood. But he and his sister would hide here, get away from their father's abuse, as well as the heavy hand and belt in which he would use upon them. He had taken many blows for his sister. Many. But now this place is no longer his refuge. And that had been over 15 years ago. He stands silently. The 29-year-old man will no longer run. He hears heavy breathing. And he literally can feel the heat in the air drop. But this is not due to anything abnormal. It is due to his own senses being heightened by anxiety and fear. He feels his own blood rushing through his veins. With the rifle clutched in his hands, he steps outside. The moon stares upon him, as do the stars. And with this, he looks to the shadows of the tree line. He sees the form. It's not making any effort to hide. And of course, it never did to begin with. I don't know what you are, you son of a bitch, but I am not afraid of you! He yells. The creature, whatever it is in the darkness, it does not hesitate. He tries to aim his rifle, to shoot it before it can move upon him, but it is too late. The rifle is snatched away from him. Massive limbs slam down upon his body as he is folded in half. Literally, in half. And he knows no more. Hey fella, you mind putting that out? You know, I'm not exactly in the mood for us to get blown up. How about you know your role and be quiet? The man says, smirking. Screw you too, asshole. Not my type. Whatever, man. The younger man throws his hands up in the air, gets in his nice little sports car, and drives away. Michael chuckles lightly. He's dealt with that type before. Kids. Besides, hadn't even been smoking the damn thing. Hadn't even been lit. He calmly turns off the gas and makes sure, of course, that his gas tank is sealed up to his truck, is roaring and ready to go. It's then that he lights a cigarette up. Chuckles lightly, thinking of different things. And then he feels his phone go off. It's vibrating. Picks it up and answers it. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm in Oak Run now. Quaint little town. I've been here in my life, but, yeah, there you have it. Yeah, I passed the Waffle House. That's where you want to meet? No problem. I'll be there. He hangs up, gets in his truck, goes on down the road, across the highway, and he settles right there in the Waffle House. Parks. He gets out, ready to go. Looks around, not too many people. You can dig that. Michael Ryback, he's dealt with a lot of things. He's, of course, fought in more than one tour in the wars that currently ravage the world, as well as many of the things in which our own country in the USA tries to settle. And I mean that with quotations. He settles down, as best he can. He makes his way inside. He sees a stocky, bearded man sitting near the back. The man's eyes flicker amber for a moment. No one else, of course, catches this. Michael, due to the fact that he's dealt with so many beings, he catches it immediately. This must be Alex. He exhales lightly. Normally he's not so nervous, but this is kind of an exception to that rule. He sits down across from the smaller man, his large mass having difficulty actually getting comfortable in the booth. You think they make seats like this more comfortable? And of course, a beggar like me can't be a chooser. Take it you're Mr. McIntyre? That's right. Two shake hands. And with this, Michael decides to go ahead and break the ice. My, well, you could say a friend with benefits told me a lot about you guys. And also, I've dealt with your kind, don't take offense to that if you can help it, but I understand. Fair enough. I've dealt with guys like you off and on. I spent a little bit of time in the army. Saw a few things in Afghanistan I wish I did not, but there you have it. And I know a few friends of mine who were native who kind of enlightened me on things. Of course, my friend Felicia, she enlightened me about what you do, as well as the council. As you kind of figured, I called them, and I figured if they could give me some work, as well as maybe help me with some of my goals. That goal being revenge. Partly. Mainly, I guess I just want to try to see if I can help people. I've been doing this on my own, with my own funding. The fact is, well, I'm not going to lie to you. There is a hefty paycheck that comes with it, but you're going to have to put a lot of work into it, kid. I'm telling you that now. The man wants to tell him I'm no kid. But of course, in the end, he himself is a kid compared to this fella. Alex has definitely handled things well the last 2 years. But in the end, this life has taken a toll on him. His hair is already starting to turn gray. That is actually quite common when it comes to an alpha rank werewolf who was turned at such a young age. He most likely will live many more years unless he's killed in battle or some kind of conflict. The man exhales relief. Well, you know my story. I'm not sure there's a lot to tell. I'm not exactly the easiest to work with, but I am more than willing to try. Alex very calmly takes a toothpick and chews it slightly. The thing is, I believe you. I believed you from the get-go. The council, they don't play around. They do research on every person they come across. They know more about you than you know about yourself, if you get my drift. Perfectly, Michael says. So don't take offense with the things I'm going to ask you. I can take what you have to offer. Just let me know. All right. I need to hear from your own lips and your words why you want to do this. What set you on this path? And I'll fill you in on myself once all that's done. If we're going to be working together in any way, shape, or form, there can be no secrets, at least not when it comes to this. I'm not wanting your life story. I want to know what set you into wanting to do this, other than the money. Because it's more than that. It always has to be. Because had that been the issue, we wouldn't be talking now. I can respect that. Okay, he exhales lightly. Started about 5 years ago. I grew up in a town. Small little mining town in Kentucky. Probably not too different from a place you grew up at. I mean, I don't know much about you, but I have that. I can pick up vibes pretty quick. Alex nods. Okay, so I'll get to the point. My wife, her name was Felicity. Her father was a good man. I worked for him. As a matter of fact, he also was a pastor in Marston. His name was Joel Bristow. Mr. Bristow was a firm man. My family the Rybacks and his the Bristows. They grew up together. We were almost the reverse of the Hetfields and McCoys. No fighting or squabbling, any feud, nothing like that. We were tight. You know what I'm saying? Real tight. We considered each other kin. We still do. I was one of Mr. Bristow's main guys. I was one of his head foremen. He was firm, sometimes too harsh at times, but you worked with what you had, and believe me, you can get results. He was fair and a very good man, despite the fact he could work you to the ground. I was able to keep up with him. Of course, me and his daughter, we'd known each other since kids in school. And, we stayed together and eventually married. No real deep, dark secret there, right? It was my brother that was a problem. And not in a bad way. He was just boneheaded. You see, you have to understand, our father, he died when we were young. And Joseph, he was a good man, but working in those mines, things happen. Of course. So, getting past that, Henry, he tended to be, he got into a bad crowd. Drugs, drinking, you know the drill. Matter of fact, I was forced to fire him. He worked in the same mine. But I didn't throw him out. I'm glad I didn't, because he would have had nowhere else to go. But he actually got a decent job in Lester's gun shop. And things were going pretty good for him. He still would drink too fucking much, but that's life. So anyway, Felicity, she always kept the house, if you get what I'm trying to say. I mean, she worked for Mr. Bristow, too. After all, he was her dad. But it was only part-time, and pretty much it was agreed between all of us that it would be easier. She was wanting kids. I mean, she really, really wanted a kid. And it was agreed between all of us that, she would have much better luck with that if she settled down. Less stress, less... I mean, she kind of kept the house up. I didn't really require that. Henry did more of that, actually, than her. But don't get me wrong, she definitely helped me in more ways than one. She did most of the clerical stuff. That woman was very, very smart. She didn't just look good. She was smart. And I counted on that. She was literally the foundation, which helped me do what I needed to do. All came to a head one night. It was after a co-worker's birthday. We had all gotten a little more drunk than we should have, I admit that. And finally, we had settled out at the house. Henry was being a moron. He was firing that damn gun of his. It's like 2 in the morning, and of course we're in the middle of nowhere. That ain't a big issue. Problem was, he was being stupid. Enough was enough. I was so fed up. I was, of course, like I said, I was drunk myself. Probably worse than him, which is saying something. But I was going to go out there and I was going to take that gun from him and shove it up his butt and maybe pull the trigger sideways to get my drift. Of course, I'm talking mess, but still. I was going to thrash him, right? Alex nuts. Well, anyway. So I go out there. And actually, Felicity, she says, hey, going back inside. I got this. She was the only one of us sober. And I'm like, okay, fine. Tired, I'm going to sleep. The man then clenches his fists. I was just patient with him. So anyway, I didn't exactly doze off. Something kept me from sleeping. Maybe it was the alcohol, I don't know. But a little time passed, and I heard that gun fire off again, and I heard screaming. Bad screaming. Loud screaming. It was a sound of, the best way I can describe it is, I know for a fact if you're anything like I am, you've done your fair share of hunting. Probably more. Alex nods. That sound of a knife cutting through something wet? It's like when you're dressing a deer. Taking the hide off of it so you can get to the meat inside. Of course, it's like that. But it was a lot louder with a lot much more force. Of course, I hear my wife screaming. Screaming like you wouldn't believe. And then there was nothing. I heard this heavy breathing and snarling. And, it Here's the thing. I've dealt with woodworkers. He says, keeping his voice low. I'm no stranger to how those things operate, and for the most part, unless they're provoked, they're not going to do anything. I mean, they try to drive you out of their territory or run you off what they consider as their area or whatever. I mean, I've known of a couple of people who've actually been run off their property, but normally not like this. I found them outside, torn to shreds. I mean, I'm not talking about just murdered or killed. I saw my wife and my brother torn to pieces, or more like slashed to pieces. Now he shudders slightly. Sorry, I understand. Well, anyway, I've seen wild animal attacks. This is beyond that. I've actually, I did some time a few years ago. Matter of fact, a couple of areas up north, they needed a guide, a trapper. Now, I'm not exactly too knowledgeable on the trapping side. Of course, I know a little bit, but not much. When it comes to tracking, that's another story, my brother. I have seen the results of animal attacks. I've seen the results of what happens when a bear kills someone. This was beyond that. Whatever had done this was beyond anything. I'll tell you right now, I got that question answered quick enough, because I saw what had done this to my family. It was a big, upright wolf. A bipedal fucking wolf. Just like, he's trembling now, remembering. It was black. All black. Just like, Van Helsing, when, that guy, Van Helsing, the main guy, right? In that movie, he was fighting Dracula. He became that big black werewolf. He didn't look exactly like that, but it looked close enough. And that's what I was thinking at first, brother. I thought it was one of you guys that had done this. But I remembered, what I'd been told through the stories, and of course, I realized this was not one of y'all. Because number one, I have yet to see a werewolf have a tail. This thing was too bestial. This thing was too much of, it was too animal-like, if you understand what I'm trying to tell you perfectly. So I knew it was something beyond that. It just looked at me. He shuddered slightly. I didn't even have the balls to, I was armed to the teeth, and I knew that I could not do a damn thing against this thing. It was just looked at me as if daring me to do anything. As if saying, what are you going to do about it? And then it just left me there. It didn't even touch me, it just left me there. Right there with the bodies of my wife and my brother. It took a few years, of course. Naturally, the authorities, they were suspicious of me. Especially, I knew better than to tell them too much. I kept my mouth quiet. I just told them it was a bear. They went along with that, despite the fact a few people poked and prodded me on a few things. But I didn't change my story. I wanted that bastard. I wanted him bad. But I didn't know what he was. I remembered some of the indigenous people, even around here, that I talked with. They knew what you guys are. That this was something else. I never even heard the fucking term Dogman until a couple of online horror narrations I had been listening to. I've always been into that kind of stuff. But it gave me the knowledge, at least to start looking. I was able to reach out. A few contacts I had on the inside of different organizations, doing what I do, doing what we do. It's easy enough to do. I knew a couple of people who were on parts of the dark web. You know the drill. I was able to get information on these things. And possibly what can kill them. Anything pretty much that is almost armor piercing. Normal stuff won't do it. Alex nods. So I found that alpha. Exactly what he was. He had a couple of others with him. I wasn't interested in them. I was able to find him. And I was able to blow his brains out, sending him screaming to hell. But it wasn't enough. I've been hunting these things ever since. I don't know if I can ever stop. Alex very calmly speaks. I can put that anger to good use. But I'm telling you right now, that kind of obsession can be dangerous. I used to think that way too, about 2 years ago. My story's a little different, but not much. I'm not going to put too much out there right now, because it'll be a distraction for our goal. Alright? Let's leave it at this. It was not too long after my wife passed away. Cancer. It's a very nasty mess, leave it at that. So, after that period of time, my friend and his wife, actually, they helped me get through the grieving process. Matter of fact, I was going to be hanging out in their cabin. Actually, my friend's uncle's cabin at that time. They brought their son along with them. We were all heading down that area. Unfortunately, we were caught in a trap, all of us. I was the one that found what was left of them. At least the end result. I tried to stop those monsters from killing my friends. And I could do nothing. True, I was able to avenge them, but they were still dead. You have to understand that. After seeing a few things and studying these creatures, not all of them are like the ones I killed. And even the ones I killed, they were not really evil. They were trying to feed their pups, and they were desperate. Now, I'm making excuses for nothing. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have a little empathy in this. Because if not, I won't have a use for you. I'm not sure I can do that, man. I can try. It's just every time I've run into these creatures, people are pushing into the forest further, more than ever. Their habitats they're being pushed out of their habitats. Their old traveling routes have changed as a result, so they're more likely to run into people now. Alright. So why did you want to meet me here? Well, first off, you passed the little evaluation I gave you. You were open with me, and I could tell, even though it shook you up, and I'm sorry about that. I get that, it had to be done. Alright, so you understand that. Number two, there's been a lot of murders in this town. Or supposedly, quote-unquote, he makes quotation marks with his fingers, animal killings. I have business here, and that's why I wanted to meet you here. Because this is not just an evaluation of whether you'll be able to do what I do. Being a hunter, it isn't just knowing how to kill things. You have to have an eye for what's going on around you, and also understand that sometimes what you think you're hunting could be something different. What I'm confused about is, why would the council, you and I both know that these guys they're high profile. They hold many of the biggest corporations in their pocket. Why are they so worried about an itty-bitty place like this? Doesn't make any sense. At least it would have to be one hell of a reason. It's personal. Unfortunately, not like that. It's a personal reason. You're right. The people in the Council of 10, they're not going to get involved in anything around a small town unless there's good personal reason. Can't mention names of the man and who desires something done. But I can tell you this. One of his family members, young man, came down here. You have to understand something. This itty-bitty town, it used to be a logging community. But in case you didn't figure it out, it's in the middle of a forest preserve. It's called that for a reason. Of course, they kind of limit that kind of activity. Exactly. Their main lifeblood in a place like this, local law enforcement, I'm pretty sure they're fairly corrupt. And there have been a few alphabet agencies around here doing some investigating. But as you said it yourself, Council, they know a lot of people in their pockets. They're able to get rid of the soup problem. Unfortunately, local law enforcement ain't so easy to deal with. There's a little bit of corruption going on here, I suspect. I can't really say exactly what, because I haven't been here long enough. I've only been staying here maybe 3 days. Little place that won't draw attention. Well, I'll get back to the point. A little town like this, its lifeblood ain't logging or anything because they can't do that much anymore. It's camping and hunting. You have a lot of people that, especially in the summertime, as well as different seasons, hunting seasons. You have deer, a lot of them out here. So you can kind of do the math. Unfortunately, you also have kids that come out here during spring break. They lease out property so they can get messed up, drunk, do drugs, whatever, have fun. Usual, typical kid stuff. We all did it, of course. That's kind of what's going on. I'm not going to be saying too much out here. I mean, it's one thing if we're talking about cryptids. People ain't going to pay too much attention. At least not much. But now that we're getting to the meat of it, that's another story. What I need to know most of all is what you have with you. Perfectly. I can help you with that. Good. The big man grins. You know what? I didn't think you were going to ask. Come on, I'll show you. He takes him outside. Opens up the back hatch to the camper of his truck. Alex peeks inside. He sees a few guns, of course, settled secretively around. The entire vehicle, the windows are tinted. Barely illegal when it comes to the darkness. Good luck trying to actually peek in there without having no clue of what's inside, if you get my understanding. Alex sees, of course, the guns. One is an AR-15. The other one is a 30-06 bolt-action Ruger. He recognizes that immediately. Wasn't the case. I did not think you would ask yet, sir, but I am glad to definitely show you. He opens it very, very gently. And inside, he sees a 50 cal. Nice. So I take it, that's what I used to, take care of the bastard which killed my family. It proved invaluable, and still does in a few situations. I saved up a lot of money, Mr. McIntyre. But I can't keep doing what I'm doing. You have to understand something. You can't hold a grudge forever. You've been doing this longer than I have, and... well, you definitely seem to be the expert, especially if they're paying you to do it. I told you before, I figured I may as well get paid pretty well to do what I do, and you'll definitely be that. But again, I need you with a clear head. You're not going to be any use to me otherwise. I don't take that the wrong way, but that's just how it is. I'm not taking that the wrong way at all. I keep up front 2 sidearms. One is a .45 Smith & Wesson. The other is a Desert Eagle. For the two-legged predators. If you understand where I'm going with this. Perfectly. So what exactly are you bringing to the table? Take a look. He stares down at Alex's left hand, which has changed to a massive set of claws. Dark hair, of course. Pitch black fur adorns his skin. And of course, the claws are very evident, razor-sharp talons. The palm is the texture more of that of a large canine or some sort of, they're pads is what I'm trying to say. Very thick, textured pads instead of the normal material of the palm. And at that moment, he quickly sees the hand fade back to normal. The man, however, is sweating heavily. He shudders lightly. And Michael sees the pentagram in his right hand. You know, I never really understood that. Oh, this is called the mark. I'm not sure if it's the mark of the beast of the Bible or not. It's just something that some of us choose to have it. Some of us choose just to learn to control our abilities just naturally. I chose to have it because I was infected at a very young age. I don't really want to get into that, but I was very young. Something unheard of among my kind. The ritual is simple. An elder will get a silver blade and carve the mark, pentagram, into our palm. You learn to focus using the mark. I can't explain it. It's just simply a mental focal point. As you get older, it really doesn't have much meaning at all. There's not even really possibly a need for it, but of course the scar remains. And naturally, it's going to bleed every time. It never fully heals. Because of the silver, exactly. Now, I'm going to see you in about 2 hours. And what else are you carrying with you? Sorry, I got off track. I'll show you. He calmly walks to his Jeep, and he opens the side. He opens the glove compartment. It's one hell of a hand cannon. Old 44, pressed. About as big as you, though. Alex chuckles. My friend carried it with him. I had no idea that he could even use a damn thing. I knew he was a good shot, but he was a skinny guy, didn't really picture him. Of course, he always talked about it. I just didn't know he would carry it with him like this. I kind of decided to keep it as a reminder. And it's definitely been used since then. What else you carry? Old sawed-off shotgun. It's not really good for taking down cryptids, but it's definitely good for intimidating a couple of people here and there, and definitely providing a distraction, at least long enough for me to do what I have to do. I understand. So, as I was saying, I'll see you in a couple of hours. I'm going to do a little bit of investigating around here. I've been staying here long enough, but I need to get more answers. Once I talk to the property owner of the area that we'll be looking up, I'll tell you more about what's going on at that point in time. There's a possibility we'll need all of your toys, and then some. Make sure to keep them handy. And I promise you, once I get answers, I'll give you answers. But I have to know what we're working with first. And then I'll tell you why we're here, and who exactly desired things done, if that makes sense. I'll be waiting. A dark-haired woman sits near the back. She had been looking at both men, especially appreciating the view of the bigger guy. That kind of man has always been one in whom she'd been drawn to throughout her life. But in the end, that's not why she's here. The little guy, in which she had been with, that guy scares the shit out of her. She's seen those kind, beyond just your normal alpha male. Those kind of guys are dangerous. Almost, there's something primal within them that makes them almost more beast than man. She had actually dated a special forces kind of individual. The guy scared the crap out of her. There was just something wrong with him. That short-bearded dude, he has similar vibes. Not quite necessarily wrong, but definitely someone who's dangerous. The bigger guy gives similar vibes, but not quite so extreme. She'd been observing them, mainly just being nosy, as a way to distract herself from her own problems. She used to work in this restaurant here when she was 17. She's 32 now, so you can do the math. She saved up to get her and her brother the hell out of this town. But in the end, after their father died, he'd returned back home. At least he'd had a place to go to. Even though the place wasn't much, it was something. A small single-wide trailer. But then, of course, after the horrific abuse her and her brother had suffered, she herself is surprised at how well she's done with herself. Every week, her and her brother would talk on the phone for at least a couple of hours, just to see how the other was doing. Her brother, despite the fact he was a major screw-up in life, was her support system. And now she's afraid that support system is gone. He did so much for her, and now she's terrified. She already knows the elements that could pass for law enforcement in this hellhole. She's afraid that maybe, just maybe, something very bad has happened. She's looking for answers, and by God, she's going to find them. She pays for her tea, as well as her small meal. She tips the waitress and decides right then and there she needs to head to her brother's trailer. Their father's old trailer. Maybe she can get some answers there. She still has a key. He had mailed it to her not even 2 months ago in case something did happen. She bites her lip with anxiety, but forces those thoughts away. She's about to open the door when all of a sudden she's blocked by a massive man. Big guy, at least 6'1", wall of muscle. Earl smirks down at her. This is the bitch I always wanted to talk to. Look, Earl, I don't have time for this. So unless... Look, I'm just going to make it real simple. Where is that piece of trash that's your brother? That's all I want to know. And then, I'll let you do what the hell you want. I don't really care. But you're going to tell me where he is. She tries to step around, away from him. And he grabs her by the wrist. Lady, I was talking to you. She sprays him in the face with mace. The man snarls angrily as he gropes at his face because of obvious, horrific pain. She tries to step back to reach into her purse. There's actually a gun in there. She has to use it. However, the man smashes her in the face, full on, damn near breaking her jaw and loosening two of her teeth with his fist, knocking her to the ground. She's tall and she's strong. She's no match for a man like this. And with this, he snarls angrily. You fucking bitch! I'll tell you right now, there's nothing gonna be left of you. No one's gonna find your ass either. He grabs her, struggling and kicking, by the scruff of her shirt, dragging her outside. It's at that moment that there's another man in which she sees, barely able to, from the force of that punch. But she hears the sound of a gun being cocked. And with this, the small man stands behind that of Earl. Look, man, I don't know what the hell you think you're doing or who you think you are, but this is... Shut the fuck up. Let her go, or I kill you. I said let her go or you die. What else is there to understand? The man releases her. And the moment that he releases her, Alex makes his move. Beyond the view of the eye, which can blink, he smashes the grip of his gun, pistol whipping the man viciously, with enough force to shatter his jaw in two places. He knocks the man completely out cold. He falls in a heap, as if he'd been hit by a 2x4, or a ball bat, which he may as well have been, due to the strength of the strike. The manager steps out from behind the door and says, Look, you two, you gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm not gonna have... It's not a problem. We're leaving. The woman nods as he helps her to her feet. And with this, she speaks softly. I appreciate the save, mister, but you have no idea what the hell you've just done. We can't stay here. She's terrified right now. This woman has dealt with a lot of things, and she's no stranger to violence, especially with her profession. But this is beyond the norm for her. She'd expected trouble. And needless to say, she knew all too well about Earl from the get-go. She had to deal with this freak for so many years of her life. It was pathetic. But this... She knew that it might happen, but it was almost impossible to prepare for such things. Alex speaks softly. Do you have a car? She nods. Were you heading somewhere before that happened? She nods. All right. Do you have any place where we can talk privately? I'm not wanting any problems. I just want to see if maybe I can help you. I'm supposed to be meeting someone in a couple hours, but maybe I can do something for you. She nods slowly. She gets in her sports car. She drives, motioning for him to follow her. He gets in his Jeep and does just that. As he follows her, he sees her pull that two-door sports car up into the parking lot of a very old, but fairly well-maintained single-wide trailer. He realizes immediately, this is instinct. It only confirms what he had suspected to begin with. This woman grew up in this town, most likely. But at the same time, she couldn't have gotten out of here fast enough. He just has a hunch that maybe her own past was maybe not quite as horrific as his own. In the end, details were different. Him losing his family in the violent way in which had been rendered upon him. It made him desire to hang on to what snippets of the past in which he could, a place which he could call home. Most likely, he just has a hunch. It's the way the woman moves as she nervously gets out of the car and waves for him to go ahead and get out. He nods. He can tell this woman did not have the happy childhood that he did in his own home. This house right here is not a haven for her. Why the hell she would even think to come back here is anyone's guess. But he has a feeling he's going to find out soon enough. She cautiously fishes out of her purse an old key. She unlocks the door, and he follows her inside. The woman closes the door behind them. She calmly steps into the kitchen and looks around. She looks and sees a small dining room table. You have no idea how long it's been since I've been in this place. Too fucking long, she says. You grew up here? It's not a question. She nods slowly. You could say that, yeah. My kid brother, he's the one I'm looking for. He inherited it. Over 12, 13 years ago, after Dad died. Couldn't have happened to a better asshole, but I still miss him, she says softly. Take it, you're not too fond about going down memory lane. Look, so what exactly happened? Besides, I think I have something that might actually help you. You're looking rough, but I think you'll pass for human once you get cleaned up. You really know how to make a girl feel at home. You know that, right? Yeah, you could say that. He calmly reaches into his backpack and hands her a first aid kit. She uses, different things in there to, of course, clean the blood from under her nose. So she feels in her mouth, notices those two loose teeth. I'm going to have these worked on. I had an overbite. It cost me a fortune to fix that. So what exactly is it that guy wanted from you, other than to beat the hell out of you? He's probably looking for my brother, just like I am. At least that's what he was asking about, she says softly. That doesn't answer my question. She sighs loudly and breaks his gaze. That man you clocked the hell out of? He's a cop. Obviously he wasn't in his uniform, but doesn't matter too much. He's had this town in his grip for a long time. Both him and his rotten dad. He's a deputy. His father's one of the sheriffs around here. He's actually the one that's been here the longest. The mayor turns a blind eye because he brings in money for the town. At least that's what Daryl was telling me. Alright, that explains a little bit. You don't seem too worried. I've handled worse animals. Sorry, I have no respect for anyone who would strike a woman like that. I gotta give you respect. You handled yourself pretty well. So you're definitely not one that, takes a lot of shit. I can respect that. What exactly does your brother have to do with him? You don't exactly strike me as the kind of person who would associate with anybody who would even talk to someone like that. Well, it's a little bit different with family. As you may have guessed, and I'm pretty sure you have, I grew up in this town. I left when I was 17. I couldn't get the hell out of here quick enough. I took my brother with me. He enlisted, of course, with the trauma he had dealt with after the beatings me and him got from our dad. He couldn't handle it. He was kicked out right after boot camp. He always hated authority. So he figured he may as well at least try to do some local work, and he did. This town, the lifeblood of this place. It's hunting, camping, things like that. He would do local work as a guide for different people. Paid pretty well. Unfortunately, he got mixed in with the wrong things. He always kept to himself. It wasn't a bad crowd. It was just, he always had gambling problems. Always. Even when we were young. Of course, the alcohol, the drugs. She opens the fridge. In case you haven't figured out, beer. Nothing but beer in here. No food at all. And with this, she points to the table. We'd have to sit here for hours at this table, me and him, while our father doled out punishments. I'm not going to go into the type, but usually it was a beating, a severe one, for any kind of infraction. After Dad died, he moved back. He inherited this place, and, well, as you can see, he's taking pretty good care of it. Alright, so he got some bad habits. I can understand that, especially... Trust me, I've met the type. Many men can't handle that kind of thing, no matter how hard they try. I can understand that. Can you? She says, meeting his gaze. Trust me, I get it. She nods slowly. I worked at that Waffle House, you know. He listens. I saved every penny I could to get me and him out of here. And of course, I understand why he moved back. He hated Dad so bad, but he also loved him. Hell, I miss him, like I told you before. It's kind of fucked up like that. But anyway. Not too long after I left this hellhole, I was able to get my PI license. It took a bit of work, but knowing the right people and taking care of things the right way, I was able to get my license pretty quick. That explains how you're able to hold your own pretty good in there, he says with respect. She nods gratefully. I appreciate that. But, like I told you, Earl and Ron, they're both corrupt to the fucking core. They're sick. Our father was a cop also, and that's how Daryl was able to get in with him. He tried to enlist himself on the force, but his background, by that time, he'd been arrested more than once. They wouldn't let him on, but they accepted his debt, I'll tell you that. There's a couple of places they run here. Matter of fact, there's one under the convenience store, outside of town. Under it. Not in it. Under it. Little gambling den they have there. Makes Earl a fortune. He gives most of it to his dad, but that's how they roll. How much was your brother owing him? I don't know. I know it was well over 15 grand. I can tell you that. That's what he told me. And since he's not here, I have no idea where he could be. I think it's a safe bet that neither man got a hold of him. Pretty sure that's some comfort. He was asking about him, so obviously not. She stands and reaches into the fridge. She takes out 2 bottles of beer. She tosses one to him. And with this, Alex smirks. You sure your brother's not going to mind? As much of a pain in the ass as he is, this is the least he owes me, she says, chuckling. He opens one, as does she. They both knock back the brew. And with this, she shudders lightly. So what exactly are you doing in here, Mr. McIntyre? What I mean by that is, what are you doing in this town? A guy like you doesn't exactly just settle in a place like this. I saw you and your friend in the Waffle House. Like I told you, I worked in that place for a couple of years. And I've seen just about every man that comes through this town. Guys like you, I don't deal with too much. There was one guy I dated. Dude scared the hell out of me. Guy was a borderline psychopath. Soldier. A little bit more than that. Special forces, or so he claimed. Like I said, the guy was completely bloodthirsty. He's not missed, I promise you that. I made him get the hint, but I thought he wasn't going to. I've dealt with his kind too, he says grimly. You give off a similar vibe, not the creeper vibe, but dangerous. Especially how you handled Earl in there. Or out there, I should say. Most people can't do that. I've seen that man hurt many, many men. And not just because he's a cop. I don't know what branch he was in, but he was in the service. His dad and my dad, they served, I want to say in the same company, but I could be wrong. Alex nods slowly. In the end, I'm not sure it matters. I'll help you. You didn't answer my question, Mr. McIntyre, she says, smirking. He chuckles lightly. Well, honestly, if you're looking for your brother, I'm kind of curious. How many missing persons reports have been in this town the last 6 months, darling? Do you have any idea? I mean, I can easily get answers myself, but maybe your brother, before it, what happened. Maybe he would know. A lot, she says. You have a lot of people that travel through here, drifters, things like that. I have heard about some family members of different people who went missing asking questions, but there hasn't really been any answers. Dara was telling me that some guys in suits were around here asking questions also. So I'll tell you right now, whatever's going on, I'm pretty sure it has to do with the local booger problem, she says, raising it. And with this, Alex raises a brow. Boogers. I'm impressed. Have you ever encountered any? She nods. There used to be this shed, not a shed, but a shack, that me and Daryl would go to. It was a hiding place for us, We'd play different games, things like that. Now that I think about it, it makes sense. Go ahead, he says. I don't know who built that shack, but I can tell you right now, it's been there a long, long time. Probably before even Daddy was born. What about your mom? I don't want to get into that. She passed giving birth to me. Maybe that's the reason Daddy hated me so much. I'm sorry. Well, it's alright. I just don't want to get into all that. But anyway, me and my brother, we'd hang out in that place, and we'd hide, sometimes for 2-3 days at a time. Our dad, he didn't give a shit. He was either drunk or chasing whoever the hell he was chasing. That was all good and nice for both of us, she says grimly. So anyway, it started with, when we'd sleep there sometimes, and we'd hear this banging on the walls, and even a couple of rocks sometimes that were thrown. One even broke one of the windows. I, of course, wanted to get the hell out of there, but Dara said that wasn't going to happen. Why is that? Well, boogers they're kind of well known around here. They're just avoided. It's really that simple. That might be what them people in the suits was asking about, but I don't know. Whatever the case, I haven't seen them around for a while. I'm kind of glad about that. Daryl decided to go ahead and start leaving apples out there for him. And that's when we really got a chance to see them. Big like nothing you'd ever seen before. Like, they look like men. Hell, they are men, but they're not. I've run across them. She looks at him. You're not calling me crazy, anything like that. Nope, I'm not. She laughs lightly. Whoever you are, Mr. McIntyre, you're something else. So what about your big friend? The one that you were giving Google eyes at? Yeah, him, she says, chuckling grimly, and blushing slightly. He's someone I'm kind of breaking in for a task. That's the reason I'm here, to find out what's been causing so many people to vanish. There's also been a couple of killings out here. It's my job to figure out what the hell's going on and get rid of the problem. So you're a contractor, she says. He nods slowly, something like that. I take it your ex kind of filled you in on that too. He couldn't shut up about it, she says. Alex rolls his eyes. Most likely he was full of shit. But yeah, that's kind of what I am. She then grows concerned, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, those boogers, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, wherever the hell they are, they just want to be left alone. They didn't... I think there might be a reason that they're doing what they're doing. And I think we need to figure out what it is. You're saying we. And who is this we? She says, smirking. I think that might be the key to helping find your brother. And hopefully we can find him in one piece. She exhales lightly. I'm scared. You know that, right? I'm afraid of whatever answer I'm going to find. I'm not going to like it. I understand that, but I'm pretty sure you'd rather find out what's going on than not have any answers at all, right? She nods slowly. With this, she exhales lightly. I just want to find him before those two assholes do. I'm kind of wondering what the hell we're going to do if we run across him again. I'll worry about that when the time comes. Obviously, right now, most likely his dumbass in the hospital. His daddy might be looking for us, but something tells me they're not going to look here too much. I have a feeling they've already been here, she says gently. Why are you saying that? Just a gut feeling. Not here. I know for a fact they've been looking around. They would know if Daryl showed up here or not. So I'm thinking that's probably where he is. That old shack. He knows those woods like the back of his hand, better than even they would. Can you get me there? I can try, she says gently. And with this, Alex stands, setting the beer aside. I appreciate the hospitality. You have to go meet your friend, huh? Well, I'm actually going to ask you to come with me if you want. I would like that, she says. I feel safe with you, at least for now. Until I can find him. I promise you, I'll do what I can. Alex's heightened senses had told him from the get-go that this woman had been on the level from him from the start. He can also smell the desperation and the fear. She's definitely used to handling rough customers. She's seen many things. But in the end, he understands. If you're willing to come with me, and you trust me, we're going to have to leave your car behind. She nods slowly. She gets that. It would stick out like a sore thumb. And with this, they get into his Jeep. The person I'm going to meet ain't my friend. I'm not going to be meeting him until about an hour from now. I'm going to have to call him up in a second, and we'll figure out a meeting spot. But right now, I'm going to head to someone's property, involving the person whom I'm investigating. And who's that? I'll tell you when I find out myself. I know who they are, but I need to know more details before I start blabbing. You okay with that? She nods. Who hired you? Again, one thing at a time. She nods. And with this, he fires up the engine, and they head to their destination. The old man, who is known as David Magruder, has owned this property for at least 40 years. As has his father before him, and his father before him. His line comes from a fine line of loggers. However, recent times had forced him to work as a guide, as well as lease out his property to many different individuals, some who were simply wanting to camp out, a couple others who were hunters. But in the end, this last one, he'd been a troublemaker. Not a bad kid necessarily, but a kid. And then, well, that in itself is not good. Of course, so many people who travel through this town vanishing as they have over the last few months. A couple of them had last been seen, of course, on his property. The people who demanded to speak with him are very scary individuals. They had been men in suits, but then all of a sudden, those scary individuals had quite literally flew the coop. They simply packed up, left. And he has a feeling one of those responsible is pulling up right now. He sees the Jeep pull up, and he walks down the stairway of his home to meet them on the front of his property. Can I help you? The man asks. Not too friendly. Matter of fact, you can. I'm with the council. Jesus Christ. I've been waiting for you, boy. That's all good and nice, old man. We need to talk now. Gladly. What about your friend? He looks to Rebecca. She nods. She gets back in the Jeep. We can talk out here or inside, it ain't matter, and I'm not gonna stay here long either. I just need to know what exactly has been happening. I promise you I'll take care of your problem for you, everything, it'll go away. But I need to know what I'm dealing with. I'll tell you right now, young man, the woods right there behind that tree line, boogers. That's all I'm gonna tell you. That's all I know to tell you. I had people asking me, the wrong kind of people asking me. I told them to whistle Dixie without using their mouth. But you? I've dealt with people who work for the council. Matter of fact, one of my nephews is one of you guys. Werewolf. Better believe it. He vouches for a lot of you people. Some things are bad, most are good. So I'll work with you. Might cost a little bit, though, if you understand. Alex very calmly reaches into his wallet and has in a couple $100. Nice doing business with you. Alright, young man, I'll tell you. Yeah, there was a kid that, him, his girlfriend, and his best friend were staying here. They were camping out in that little area right over there. Little spot, I usually hollow out for hunters, campers, you know the drill. He wanted to do a little bit different. He wanted to party, get fucked up. I don't blame him for that, but it was the wrong place and damn sure the wrong time out here. I warned him he shouldn't be here, but the kid was paying good money. I ain't gonna turn that down. And in the end, I figured if he was a dumbass enough to get killed, maybe he deserved it. As long as them damn things didn't come after me, I have an agreement with them. I feed them a little bit, they leave me alone. But a lot of the ones that was here, haven't seen them around lately. What do you mean? That's the thing. There used to be... There was 4 of them. Alright? And then there was 3. The youngest one, it was a little family, a part of them. The youngest one, I think, just died from disease or something. I don't know. I stopped seeing him. But there was a juvenile, of course, a female. I'm guessing that was the mama. And then, of course, there was the alpha male. Big bastard, at least 10 foot. Monstrous. Like you wouldn't believe it if you saw it. You might be surprised. Considering what you are, young man, I get that. Of course, some people call that habituating. I'm not going to agree with that. To me, it was an agreement. I fed them. I feed them sometimes horse feed, corn, grain, didn't matter. Sometimes apples. Hell, even a couple of times I shot a buck or a doe, and I give it to them. Man. They especially love the guts, if you know what I'm talking about. Big old gut pile, I'd leave it right over there by them trees. There was an agreement between me and them. They would leave me and mine alone. But that dumbass kid, he had a fucking gun. You shoot the damn thing all night. But the thing is, I told you, I stopped seeing the other 2. The mama and I'm guessing it was their son. I don't know if it was that or their daughter, I can't tell you. But I stopped seeing both of them. All I would see was that big damn male. Thing is, he stopped accepting anything that I'd give him. Matter of fact, I left part of a boar I'd shot. He threw that damn thing at the side of my house. So I knew something was up. And that wasn't too long after cops found that boy, his girl, and his buddy dead. He was the worst. His head turned around, literally twice. His neck popped like a pimple. The girl, don't even get me started on her. She was ripped limb from limb. His friend, I guess, got it the easiest. His skull was crushed by a rock that was thrown at him. Alex nods grimly. I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling that male is the one responsible for people vanishing as well as the killings. I don't know who did what to his mate, whatever you want to call her, and his kid. I'm telling you, I'm betting you, they're the ones responsible for this. Alex nods slowly. I'm going to try to get rid of your problem. I can't promise anything, but I need to find answers. You do what you need to do. If you can get that thing gone, I'll pay you a lot more than... Just believe me, I'll pay you a lot more than what you just paid me. If you understand where I'm going with this perfectly. Just so we have an understanding. Rebecca grows concerned when she sees Alex return to the Jeep. He sits on the driver's side and, of course, prepares to start the engine. She puts a hand on his arm. It's not something she would normally do with a fellow she barely knows. But this, maybe it's her desperation for answers, or maybe just some weird connection. She can't really put her finger on it. But she looks the shorter man in the eyes and asks him, "You find what you were looking for?" The man's rugged features reveal strain and pain and sadness. Well, I found a few answers, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and explain what I can to you, because you're deserving to know what's going on. I'm working for some very influential people, people with money and power, people that you wouldn't even be able to believe. Just leave it at that. A family member of theirs was staying out on this man's property, Mr. Magruder out there, during spring break a couple of months ago. During that time, his body was found. Him, his girlfriend, and his buddy were literally roughed up very badly. And I mean badly. Something that no human being could do. I knew what I was getting into. I just needed to know really what was going on. And I found some answers that I wish I didn't. What do you mean? Can they help me find my brother? Believe me, I'm more than willing to do whatever it takes. I need to find him. Please. He squeezes her hand and then lets it go. I'm going to try, but I can't promise anything. You may not like what you find. Her own lips press into a thin line. I'd rather know something than nothing. He nods slowly. I can work with that. Yeah, a booger is the one responsible for a Bigfoot. Most likely did this. And I have a feeling I know why. It's most likely a rogue alpha that's doing this. And it has damn good motivation. Somebody, I believe, killed his family. Why would they do that? He shrugs broad shoulders. Who the hell knows? But I have a feeling that it's involving a few people that we're not going to want to have to deal with. Mainly the guy I knocked out cold. Just a hunch. I could be wrong. I may have nothing to do with it, but if your brother was fleeing out in that cabin, it's on that man's property. She freezes. She nods slowly. Confirmation. It would have to be. It's in this area. Right past them. Right past that tree line. It would take at least maybe 45 minutes on foot. Like I told you, but I can get you there. That's good to know. We'll be heading out there pretty quick. Do you have anything with you other than that pistol you was going to pull out of your purse? She shakes her head. I didn't exactly plan on anything, to be honest. I just came out here. I just wanted answers. I wasn't planning on anything. I can fire a rifle pretty damn good. Matter of fact, I'm a crack shot. Good. I'm not sure really what you can do, but my friend might have something you can use. Because we're going to need all the help we can get. What exactly does he have to do with all this? Oh, Michael? He's someone that I was recruiting for this job. The people I work for, I'm not the only one that works for them. Different contractors for different types of contracts. Sometimes he scratches his nose lightly. A guy like me who has a little more experience will break someone like that in. See if he's worth the trouble. We get paid pretty good to do what we do, so it's kind of a screening process. This little operation here was supposed to be part of it. This is the thing. I've dealt with Bigfoot before. Most of these creatures, they're not bad. They just want to be left alone. So whatever set this big bastard off to be killing people the way he is not good. And I've seen enough people lose those they love. It gets to me. She nods slowly. So, if you want to come along for the ride, darling, better strap up. The big man pulls up after Alex had given him a phone call. He gets out of his truck. Wow, we have company? You mind explaining what exactly has gone down here that I need to know about? Alex nods and explains Rebecca's situation. The man smiles gently. Promise you, we're going to help you find your brother, alright? Whatever's going down, I promise you, we're going to find him. And with this, Alex explains everything as best he can about what's going on. He explains to him about the council member's family member, Ted Rex, being slain on this property, as well as his girlfriend and his friend. That definitely concerns Michael, to say the least. Doesn't make much sense. Like I told you, I've dealt with them things more often than not. It can be scary, but just going around offing people like that, that's something, it's weird. It would have to have one hell of a reason. Yeah, you can see that. I have a feeling that that big male out there in them woods, there's a reason he's pissed off. Somebody killed his mate and his kid. That's fucked up. Exactly. So you and me, we're going to have to go in there and take care of it. What about her? Alex looks to her. She shakes her head. I'm not staying anywhere. If my brother's in those woods, besides, you guys are going to need me. I know your type, Mr. McIntyre. You're a damn good tracker, but I know those woods. I don't know them perfectly, but I can get you there. If he's in that cabin, I know for a fact he'd be hiding in that place. And if he's there, I'm the only one that can get you there. I can get you there the quickest. How about that? All right. She says you can handle a rifle. I want to take a look and see how well you can shoot before we go any further. Fair enough. Michael wants to protest, but something deep within him tells him, no, not this time. He had noticed her eyeing him earlier in the restaurant, and maybe that's the reason he has such a soft heart when it comes to the situation. It's not a matter of him being, a typical macho male. It's not that. Maybe it's because she reminds him of his wife. But in the end, maybe it's because of that. There's a chance for her to find her brother and get answers. The way he sees it, she doesn't deserve that. All right. Go ahead and fix those 2 bottles up there. We'll see how good a shot she is. Alex nods and secures 2 bottles to Mr. Magruder's fence. I have 2 AR-15s back here. You familiar with them? Very, she says. I respect that. Go ahead and take one right there. I want to see how well you handle it and how good your aim is. This isn't a matter of anything you might be thinking, but we have to know who we're dealing with. The fact is, we can't afford to babysit for anybody. Don't take that personal. It's just life. She nods. She fires 2 bursts. She hits her targets. Alex is very impressed. That answers that. Let's go ahead and make sure you're suited up. I'm not sure how well you'll do with a sidearm, but if you can handle that AR-15 like you did, I'm pretty sure we can get something for you. Yeah, I have that 45. I'll get a shot of you with that. Better than with this AR-15, especially at close range. My dad did teach me a few good things, she says, chuckling bitterly. That's good information. All right, Miss Abernathy, we'll go ahead and make sure you have those, and we need to get a move on. It's gonna be sundown soon, and I don't think we're gonna want to be in those woods come nightfall. All 3 get geared up. Michael does bring that 50 caliber rifle. It's a very heavy weapon, but for a big guy like him, there's very little trouble. Suffice to say, one might think it's overkill, but in the end, when you're dealing with what they're possibly chasing down, it could be exactly what could save a life. Rebecca's the one that leads them. She knows this area. Once she's able to remember a few landmarks, it's very little trouble for her to lead them. It takes several minutes, at least a good 35 to 40. They get turned around slightly, but not much. She's able to lead them to the shack. Once they clear the line, they're able to see it, as I said. They're facing the back of it. And with this, Rebecca speaks softly. "Follow me," she says, trembling lightly. Michael speaks gently. "Look, it's going to be all right. We have your back, all right?" She nods slowly. And with this, they walk around. The building itself is good size, but it's not massive by any means. It's about the size of a small cabin, no more, no less. But of course, it's pretty much a shack. Needless to say, her screaming cuts through the darkening skies, a scream of grief and pain that cannot be denied. Michael, for a big man, runs very quick to see what the hell she found. And of course, right there, not even maybe 100 feet away from the front of the building, lay her brother, dead. He's literally been folded in half, as if something of horrific pressure came down and bent him at horrific angles. His bones are shattered, his skull split open like a melon. The woman buckles to her knees and cries. There seems almost to be no end to her grief and her pain. She grabs the body and rocks it back and forth. She doesn't care about the decomposition. She does not care about anything. She just realizes that this was her brother. No animal or predator had touched it after the one responsible had killed him in such a horrific fashion. As a matter of fact, the rogue male had left his scent all over the body. No predator is going to want to touch that. And then, of course, in the end, that had been by design, a warning for anyone that would dare trespass in this territory again. And with this, she slowly lets go of the body. She's still on her knees, but she clutches that AR-15 in her hands. "I don't care who did this or what, but I'm going to send it to hell screaming, and no one's going to stop me," she says. Michael sets a hand on her shoulder. She pulls away from him, as if to say, "Don't touch me right now." Alex puts a hand on the big man's arm, shakes his head, as if saying, "Let her get it out. Any of us will probably grieve in a similar fashion, if not worse." She, it's a matter of respect. The big man nods slowly, and they let her get it out. And with this, she speaks softly. "Why? I don't understand. We'll find out soon enough. But we need to get out of here pretty quick. Unless there's something here you can find. Unless you think there's something here we can find. We need to find this thing, and we need to take care of it," Alex says gently. "Matter of fact, we're being watched now." Alex cannot finish that sentence as a rifle shot pierces through the air, loud and clear, and his head jerks back. He falls in a heap, seemingly very dead, at Rebecca's feet. At that moment, a man yells out, "Don't even think about moving, either one of you." "All right there, big guy. Drop that gun or I plug her, right here and now. And I ain't joking. I ain't got much to lose right now. And I ain't in the mood to be fucking with you," the man says. Michael wants to cuss the man out and tell him to play with himself, but he knows better. The man is holding a modified M16 in his hands. He's an older guy, probably in his 60s, at least. If not, maybe even his early 70s. Michael lowers the gun. I said drop it, not lower it. You might want to do as he says. He's not in a good mood, and for good reason. Another man. Both men are cops. They're dressed in uniform. This is Ron Beatty and his deputy. The deputy is a man named Hank Pendleton. The rifle is dropped. "You too, darling. I don't want to kill you. You're a fine-looking one. I guarantee you, I'll do it if I have to." She wants to tell him play with himself, but she does as she's told. Alright, now keep your hands up your sidearms, and we'll all possibly walk away from this. You didn't have to kill him, you son of a bitch. Rebecca snarls angrily. Matter of fact, you stupid cunt, I did. Ron says. That bastard, made it to where my son probably won't be able to function without, having his jaw wired the hell shut! For at least a couple of months. I figured I owed him that. The moment he laid a hand on my boy, he was dead. Matter of fact, I'm guessing that right there is why you came out here to begin with, ain't it? He says, chuckling, motioning with his gun. He makes sure that his deputy Hank has the drop on them. That way, with his movements, neither one of them will do anything. He motions with his gun once more. That right there, that piece of shit you call a brother, he owed me and my boy a little too much. Guess whoever the hell is out in these woods did the work for us. Michael laughs. And what is your major malfunction? What's so funny? There's nothing funny about any of this. Matter of fact, there is, Michael says. The fact is, you're going to kill us regardless. Oh, you better believe it. Seem like you have a good head on your shoulders. You're aware of the situation you're facing. I'd love to have you work for me. He shrugs slim shoulders. But I can't always be choosers in life. Yeah, I'm going to kill both of you. I'll make sure it's quick, but you guys have seen too much and come across things that I really wish you hadn't. Yeah, I'm very aware who killed that bastard right there. Like I said before, it saved us the trouble. I'm the reason that he's doing all this, too. What are you talking about? What the hell did you do? Michael says. Well, as you may have figured out, this fucking pandemic has kind of put the cramper on many things. Now, true, we can get away with a little bit more out in these boonies than many. Unfortunately, people are scared. The way it is, you know, it's how life works. But I've been here to make some money. Of course, we've been knowing about the boogers been wandering these woods for years. They migrate on a regular basis. Can't say one or the other, you know, this is how it works. I saw that big bastard, his mate, and their kid. I figured if I could bag the kid, there's been a lot of folks. You have them all the time around here. Alphabet agency types, suits, feds, spooks, you name it, you got it around here. You know, boogers are common knowledge, right? So I figured to make a little bit of money. I figured I'd put two in the little one. Take it away. I know it's kind of foolish, but a desperate man does desperate things. Especially with pieces of shit like that owing me money. So me and Hank here, we figured, go ahead and bag one. We were able to take the little one out. Wasn't a problem. We weren't exactly expecting that cunt of a mother to try to get involved. Had to do her too. This right here, he says, patting the M16 in his hands. Took a couple of shots in the head. But she went down. Thing is, yeah, that big old male come charging out. We had to get the hell out of Dodge. We got away, barely. I'm guessing he's been killing people since. That was close to a year ago. Michael shakes his head in disgust. You're a real piece of shit. Do you have any idea how many people are dead because of you? He shrugs slim shoulders. Man's gonna make $1 here and there, right? In the end, well, I said all I needed to. Kinda got a little bit off my chest. I feel so much better now. There's so much lifted off my shoulders, right? Okay, kill them. It's at that moment that Rebecca makes her move. She very calmly and quickly, with trained precision, is able to draw her firearm, and she shoots the man in the shoulder. Michael uses that distraction to pull that Desert Eagle, and he shoots Hank twice in the chest, creating massive holes in his torso. He falls dead. before he can even utter a word, much less fire a shot. He then calmly walks over to the sheriff. He wasn't just shot in the shoulder. That 45 slug, or that round, that bullet had pierced into his shoulder and ricocheted off the bone and traveled through his torso and out his side. The man is dying as we speak. He very calmly blows the man's brains out all over the grass. Rebecca flinches as she sees him shoot the man in the head. Michael very calmly puts his gun away. He steps forward and very gently takes the gun, which Rebecca holds, that 45, and very gently pulls it away from her grasp. The woman is shaking, just traumatized. He very gently pulls her into an embrace. Shh, it's okay. It was them or us, all right? There was no choice. Look, you saved my life. Believe me, I owe you one. I'm gonna make sure you're okay. He pats her back gently, as if to calm her. It actually works, and she stops shuddering. But she doesn't shed tears. She's too far gone for that. What about Alex? He didn't feel a thing. It went straight through. Bullets lodged in his brain. He holds back the fact that even that he isn't sure could actually kill one of Alex's kind. And with this he speaks. We're gonna find this thing. And we're gonna end it, okay? She nods mutely. And with this, he holds her at arm's length. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're gonna stop this. It's not gonna hurt anyone else. But I need you to work with me. Okay? We're gonna stop this thing right here and now. But I'm gonna need your help. The woman nods slowly. I think it might be a good idea to camp out here. We have supplies. I don't think these idiots call for backup, so we should be alright. At least for right now. I'm sorry about Alex, she says. You and me both. He was a good guy. I don't think you understand. It's my fault. He knew what he was getting into, just like both of us did. It's just how it works with men like us, all right? She nods. Okay, come on. Let's get you inside, and let's get you something to eat, and get you relaxed, all right? That's the best I can do for you right now. I don't know what I can do beyond that point. I need to make sure these two assholes are situated. And then, well, I'll make sure your brother's situated also. We'll figure that out once we take care of our problem. You understand? She nods. Old man Magruder looks to the $200 bills in his hands. He feels like he is Judas Iscariot himself. It doesn't make any sense. That young man had mentioned the Council of 10. And he knows all too well, hell, any man who ever had power in their lifetime would know of the Council of 10 and what they are. Of course, it's a very well-guarded secret. No normal man would ever know of what they are. But in the end, he had rubbed elbows in his youth with some very powerful men. That young man with the beard, he knew for a fact he was a werewolf. He had seen the way he had moved. And werewolves are beings of extreme power. When working alone or in packs, this much he knows. He's seen teams of these guys in his youth. During his time in the service, he knows what they can do. And that man, he could tell from his own experiences that he was an alpha. Why does he feel such guilt? An alpha should easily have been able to make short work of any Sasquatch or any other cryptid out there for the most part without a hitch. It makes no sense. But this feeling in his guts, this clairvoyance he has always had throughout his life, ever since he was a little boy, it is not wrong. He knows that something very wrong has occurred and he feels guilt about it. Now, true, he would have been more than willing to pay to have that thing dealt with. He doesn't know if it had killed its own family or not. The fact is, despite the agreement he had made with that tribe of Sasquatch, it had gone mad, and it had killed a lot of people and cost him business. He'd been straightforward with those two men and that woman. He should have been sending them to that monster's death, and not them to their own. It makes no sense to him. But he knows something dreadfully wrong has happened, and he feels shame and guilt. Well, old man Magruder was never a coward. And he also knows he's not just being watched, he's being stalked. He turns on the floodlights to the property. However, whatever is out there, well, he knows who's out there and what. However, it doesn't back away. He hears heavy breathing. He grabs up his rifle and steps outside. There's a very powerful thump that can be heard on the side of his property, his house. He clenches that rifle tight in his hands. He speaks softly. You know, I always had an agreement with you and yours, right? Always did. Now, my parents had agreements with you guys. I don't know what the hell killed your family, but it wasn't me. I know. You ain't gonna let me walk away. I want you to know one thing, big fella. I ain't going down without a fight. You know, you didn't have to kill all them people. Wasn't gonna bring nobody back. The creature walks quite well within his eyesight now. He makes no effort to hide. His movements are graceful and savage, primal. The beast stands at least 10 foot in height. Its features are all too human. Almost like that of a Neanderthal, but much, much hairier and larger. The creature's eyes are crimson. They glow with rage and hatred. All right, Lord. I'm coming home, the old man says aloud, as the creature's hands flash forth before he can fire a shot. He sees those huge hands reach for him, and he feels them grab him, and then he feels nothing at all. Rebecca wakes up quickly. Hey, it's okay. I just wanted to let you know it's your turn to take watch in a couple hours, all right? She nods slowly. When are we going to move? About 5 more hours. Right now, we have a couple of MREs here. We can rest, eat up a little bit. Then we'll start moving at daybreak, okay? Right now, neither one of us are in the shape to do so. Once we take care of this thing, and believe me, he passed the 50 cal that's sitting beside of it. Promise you. I have the right equipment to take care of it. I'm praying we're able to. Then, I make sure that we get Alex and your brother out of this place. What about them? I give a fuck less about them. Like I said, I don't think they're going to have too many people looking out this deep. Pretty sure they've been declared missing, but I'm not too worried about that. We're going to take care of this big bastard that killed your brother. And then, I'm going to get you home. The man grabs up that 50 caliber rifle in strong hands. He passes the side of it and looks to Rebecca. This bad boy right here has gotten me out of worse situations than this. I hate to see what that would be, she says. I think most people would, he says, smirking lightly. She's actually relieved. She has praised that that's confidence and not some false bravado. However, it's at that moment that Michael grows still. He sees where Rebecca is looking. The woman's features reveal pure horror. He speaks softly. Whatever happens, stay put. If I don't come back, or something goes down, That's when I want you to run. Do you understand me? The woman speaks gently, but firmly. I'm not going to abandon you. This isn't the time for that. I want you to promise me. She simply nods. And with this, she steps outside. The darkness is pitch, of course, black at this moment in time. He sees nothing but shadows. However, the shadow is massive. And with this, he tries to take aim with that massive gun. But the form moves beyond what the eye can blink. Rebecca closes her eyes in horror as she hears the sound of a man screaming. And flesh literally being torn asunder. As Michael feels his own body torn asunder, bones shattered, and his body is thrown against the wall of the shack, through it, with such force that it practically explodes in a shower of blood and gore. His very dead eyes stare up from the ground at Rebecca. She screams in horror, in pure terror, as well as no small amount of just shock, as the massive, dark-haired beasts blots out any sort of light from outside. He is so massive he fills in the door. She sees those red eyes, and then his massive hands reach for her, and then she sees nothing. Where Alex lay, there was no longer a man. The shift had happened within seconds. His bestial form is much more savage than it had been in the first chapter. Instead of a slightly lupine muzzle, no, now he has a massive woven head upon massive shoulders. The werewolf stands. The bullet in which had been lodged in his brain now pushes out through his forehead. It is extremely and excruciatingly painful, but the creature is so far gone it could care less. His hunger takes over, and with this he drops to all fours. He sniffs the dead corpse of a large man who had died very badly, but he halts. Something within the beast keeps it from feeding upon him. No, he wanders outside. He sees two bodies, actually three. One is so far decayed that there's not much use of trying to feed upon it. He sees two fresh bodies, fairly fresh. Rigor mortis has set in some, but they will prove nourishing. He devours them to the bones. The protein, of course, rushing through his system, quickly snaps the man in control of the beasts. The pentagram flickers upon his right hand. His clawed hands flex as he stands upon hind legs, recognizing and remembering what had happened. Of course, that big man, that was his friend. One more in whom he had failed. Someone who had looked up to him as a mentor, and whom he had let die. The werewolf howls for the night, his grief horrifically evident, his pain even more so. He bends down to all fours once more, whimpering lightly as he sniffs the corpse of Michael. It's then that his savage mind quickly remembers someone else. A woman. Rebecca. She's not here. But he can also catch her scent. She's not dead either. His own memories of dealing with the Bigfoot, his time abroad, when he is in Afghanistan and Iraq, those times that he had been in the military, those memories in which he'd had from his own childhood and dealing with these creatures. True, it had been limited. Those memories come to the forefront, and he knows already too well what this creature has planned for that woman. He cannot allow that. He forces himself to to remain in control. Despite the beast wanting to go completely amok, he cannot allow that. He drops back to all fours, and he runs through the darkness, past the wood line, and God help anyone who tries to stop him. She awakens with a splitting headache. She realizes most likely she has a concussion. She shudders and resists the urge to puke what she just recently consumed. The meager contents of her stomach beg to be released, but she forces such things aside. Rebecca knows that she has to get herself together. The memories of her brother's death pierces her like a harpoon in the heart. But also, she remembers two good men that have sacrificed everything to help her. And that, also, she cannot cry, she's too far gone. She sees a fire burning. Where is she? She realizes she's in a cave. A very deep cave. Of course, the forest preserve itself is rife with such things, so she's not surprised. Of course, it makes perfect sense. Naturally, that's where this thing would have had to hide. Of course. She realizes she's alone, at least for now. She looks to her hands and her arms. Nothing's broken. She's bruised. Obviously, this thing had brought her here for purposes that she doesn't want to think about. She herself is no stranger to the old tales of wood boogers kidnapping women and doing things. She really refuses to think about that, but it makes perfect sense. She walks outside of the massive cave. It takes time, but she's able to do so. She notices two mounds near the mouth of the cave. She recognizes them immediately as graves. She bites her lip. She closes her eyes. She doesn't know what she's going to do, but she can't stay here. It's at that moment that she notices something watching her. The creature snarls. He is massive. He literally blocks out the light to the entrance of the cave as he snarls low and very gently shoves her back to where she lands on her rear end. And with this, he roars loudly, quite literally causing her organs to shake from the vibration. Look, she can't even speak. She's just so deep in shock. I'm sorry for what happened to your family, but I'm not the one responsible. The ones that did it, they're dead. Please, let me go. The creature snorts as if in amusement. His eyes are no longer flickering crimson. They're a deep dark brown, but there seems to be almost an internal fire within them. The creature very calmly growls and motions for her to walk back into the cave. She shakes her head. You're going to have to kill me. The creature very calmly prepares to advance. She has no idea what he plans, but she's not stepping 1 foot further back into that cave. She plans on fighting. She knows horrific things may happen, but she's done running. The massive werewolf barrels through the trees. The foliage is so thick along the ground that one his size should not be able to move through it. But in the end, when it comes to what he is, he's able to move through the trees as easily as on the ground. Easily as any dogman, if not quicker, as a matter of fact, due to the supernatural nature of his existence. Alex drops down to the ground once more when he realizes he's in the area. He raises upon his hind legs and snarls. His night vision quite easily picks up two signatures. He can tell by her scent she's very close, and she is terrified. He has failed too many people he cares for. He will not fail this one. He will die before that happens. Rebecca closes her eyes, thinking at that moment she can actually feel him approaching. She realizes she cannot fight. She's too afraid. She curses herself for her cowardice. but this thing's stench as well as its power is overwhelming. However, at that moment, she actually feels a cold draft. She opens her eyes, and she sees the massive creature. His back is facing her. He sees something. What? It's then that she sees the stuff of nightmares. A massive werewolf. Not quite as big as a Sasquatch, actually not even close. The beast stands a good 6.5 feet. Massively muscled, heavily built, extremely stocky in strength and power. Its fur bristles as it snarls and actually roars in the creature's direction. The Sasquatch is truly surprised. He has met with dogmen before. The dog-headed ones are easily dispatched. They hardly ever even think of coming near one such as him unless they're in packs. And he had long since driven out any stragglers in these woods. But no, this is something different. Something off. A Sasquatch is like a dogman, has a better sense of smell than any pig. This creature, he smells something wrong. Very, very wrong with this thing. He looks slightly behind him to the woman. He senses a connection between this creature and the woman. It makes no sense. He has simply planned on claiming her as possibly something to enjoy, and then casting her aside like he had with a few human women that he had gotten a hold of since his mate's death. Simple thing. He doesn't understand why this creature wants her. But the fact is, this thing is in his territory, no matter how dangerous it is. This cannot stand. However, he has no chance in hell. Rebecca looks in horror as the werewolf lunges forth, slamming his massive talons into the Sasquatch's chest, raking deep, deep gouges where no other firearm will be capable truly of making a dent in all that heavy muscle and thick, thick hide. The creature's chest is slashed to ribbons. Blood flies everywhere as the Sasquatch roars in horrible agony as he grabs the werewolf and throws him into the side of the cave. She can hear bones snap and a heavy whimper escape from the black-furred beast's maw as he very calmly and swiftly springs back to his feet, and he lunges, but this time his massive jaws open wide, and the Sasquatch quickly throws up his arms, but those massive jaws find purchase upon his right wrist, and the sound of bone crunching and flesh rending cannot be denied. The creature roars in pain and sends out a vicious punch with its left fist, catching the werewolf full in the muzzle. Alex feels his bones break, and his still traumatized brain damn near turned to jelly in his skull from the force of the blow. He is knocked literally at the creature's feet. Sasquatch snarls angrily and viciously raises up his fists and slams down, snapping the werewolf's back in two places. And with this, he snarls even lower, angrily, in rage and hatred at this creature that would dare intrude into his own lair and violate the sanctity of where he buried his son and his mate. This thing will pay dearly for that. And with this, he very calmly situates himself, his massive form and greater weight finding purchase as he sits upon the werewolf's back. He can feel the bones in the werewolf trying to knit back together. He cannot allow this. He grabs Alex's upper and lower jaw and prepares to pull apart, a killing move in which his own father had taught him. The Bigfoot, that is, and how to kill dogmen. Whatever this thing is, most likely it can die in a similar way. The same way in which Alex had killed the Alpha in Chapter 1. However, that is not to happen, as the creature feels a very sharp branch slam into its back. The creature growls angrily. It's left a distraction for Alex to make his move. By now, he is fully regenerated, despite the injuries to his back. And with this, those jaws in which Bigfoot had been about to pry open. Now, let's leave it at this. That's not gonna happen. Alex bites viciously with those massive jaws upon the Bigfoot's left hand. And with this, he bites down hard, swallowing the Bigfoot's hand all the way to the wrist. The sound of crunching bone and flesh and a hideous shriek cannot be denied as the werewolf slashes forth, raking deep gouges and furrows into the Sasquatch's face. The werewolf, in this attack, rips out the Sasquatch's eyes, his talons raking through sensitive flesh, as his face is damn near torn off of his skull due to the force of the attack. The Sasquatch gurgles and tries to get back to his feet, but there is no way in hell that's happening. The over 600 pounds of pure solid muscle and weight of werewolf finds purchase upon his back. Now this Alex bites down upon the creature's neck. The massive rogue male tries again and again to get the creature off of him, but Alex is too strong, and too much blood has been lost. The creature gurgles and convulses as Alex bites down on the almost non-existent neck. He's able to find purchase as his right hand grabs the creature by the sagittal crest of its skull, and he holds it still, and he bites down with enough force to break the creature's neck. And with this, he wrenches the massive body back, and you can hear the popping of its spine, and the creature flails no more and breathes no more. The werewolf lets go of his enemy, letting the corpse fall completely to the ground. The creature raises upon his hind legs. Rebecca, of course, grabs that branch in pure terror. The werewolf is completely in control of his thoughts. He had already fared well from those two policemen. So in the end, he has control. He can change back without too much difficulty. He has no desire to feed upon the Sasquatch whom he just killed. As a matter of fact, he has no joy in what he did at all. And when he fought the Alpha in Chapter 1, that had been different. That had been out of a desire for revenge and hatred. This has simply been something that had to be done. He could not allow someone else who depended on him to die. He understands the woman's fear. And with this, he very calmly draws in the dirt with a massive taloned hand, one clawed finger. I will not harm you. She looks at him. What are you? He writes his name, Alex. Alex? What are you? What? The creature meets her gaze. And with this, he wipes away what he had drawn in the dirt with his claws and writes once more, "Do you trust me?" The moment he wrote, "Do you trust me?" that brings her back full circle when she first met him. He had asked her that. When she had asked for his help. She nods and then finally speaks. "I trust you." The creature nods slowly. And with this, it stands fully and whimpers. She sees his form contort. It's a matter of just seconds, actually, when it happens. The fur recedes, that massive woven head fades, that horrific amber eye glow, of course, returns to a normal human tone. His slightly tanned skin is evident instead of horrific black fur. The short, stocky man stands before her. And with this, she simply says, "Thank you." Alex nods silently. And with this, she finally finds the courage to speak. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you believe me?" She exhales lightly, shaking. And with this, she breaks down, just not sobbing, but shuddering. She's still kind of past that point of crying at this point. Alex pulls her to him, embracing the taller woman tightly in strong arms. She finally is actually able to break down. She then begins to cry. She doesn't shed tears, it's just a dry sobbing. Alex himself does cry as well, for the things that he had been forced to see and the things he had been forced to do. But at least this one time, he'd been able to reach someone. And at least for this one time, they did not die. Alex takes roughly 3 days to fully heal. It had not just been his back that had been broken. That had healed almost instantaneously due to his regeneration. However, the deeper organ damage, while it had healed almost instantaneously, the bruising, as well as other types of trauma, due to the amount of the injuries, it had taken a little longer to completely pull him through. There had not been much food in the cave, hardly any, but there had been plenty of water. So needless to say, it takes him roughly 2 more days. Rebecca is hardly in any shape to go anywhere. Of course, for her to go by herself, half naked, into those woods without any kind of defense would be suicide. She goes for a couple of days without food. But he's able to bring a few things in once he does recover. Being what he is, he's actually able to bring in some game. It's on the 5th night that Rebecca finally speaks. She had hardly said a word before. As she looks at the naked man before her, what now? Once I'm fully recovered, we should be within probably 12 hours. He coughs slightly. I'm able to shift without too much of a hitch now. Of course, I was able to bring us back some food, too. Deer's not easy to catch, especially when I'm in this kind of shape. She nods gratefully. I try to make sure that Michael, he didn't have any family. I'm going to try to make sure that he's buried at least. It's the least I owe the kid. And make sure you and your brother get out of here also. What you do from that point on, I can't really tell you. But I'm sorry. The woman puts a hand to his, basically, finger to his lips. She shakes her head. She looks to him. They have bonded quite a bit in this time in the cave. Not in a romantic way, but she does lean forward and she kisses him. Something to think on. The man nods slowly. He takes her hand and squeezes it. Within 24 hours, both of them are able to get out of that cave. He gets them back to civilization. Even though it takes quite a time doing so. A week passes. And certainly loose ends are cleaned up. Alex definitely is able to communicate with the right people. And thus, it leads up to the scenario right now. We find both him and Rebecca sitting in the same Waffle House during the beginning of this story. They're both sitting in the same spot where Alex and Michael have been sitting. "Thank you," she says. Alex grabs her hands gently and squeezes them. "Hey, look, it's the least I can do. You've been through enough. So what are you going to do now?" she asks. "I'm going to make sure Michael gets buried by his wife and his brother. It's the least I can do for him. I know the right people to talk to." "What about them?" she asks. She means, of course, the sheriff and his rotten deputy. When it comes to them, at least from what I've been hearing about in the paper, they looked the mob's way, and the mob blinked right back. "I knew they were dirty, but my God." He shrugs broad shoulders. "Doesn't matter. They're dead. They're in hell where they belong. So what about you? Well, when you made sure that Daryl got, taken out of there, I was able to get him put in the right funeral home. I don't know who the hell you talked to, but they're declaring it an accident. They're refusing to say what kind of accident, but just that. And I'm not exactly going to be pushing that any further. I know better. He chuckles lightly. Just leave it at that. There won't be any questions asked. The only demand is that I don't come back here. People aren't exactly too happy of the fallout. Especially old man Magruder. He's pretty well respected throughout here. A lot of people are looking my way. They're not happy of him dying like he did. It wasn't your fault. How? It doesn't matter. That's just the way politics rolls, especially local politics, what can I tell you? She nods slowly. And with this, she finally finds the courage to ask him, so what are you going to do now? I'm not sure, Alex says. This kind of made me rethink a few things. Being what I am, the things I've done. I've been hunting things I can't really tell you about. Things kind of like me, but not. I've been letting revenge eat me up too much. I want to do something different. Will you keep in touch? Of course. Just make sure your brother gets the final rites or whatever it is you want done that he deserves. And yeah, we can keep in touch. I'd like that, she says. And with this, she leans forward and kisses his cheek. The man pats her shoulder. She basically stands, and with this she hands him a card. The card reads, Abernathy Investigative Services, based out of Los Angeles, California. So I guess that's your home away from home. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I plan on getting the hell out of here. The sooner the better. Once I make sure that he's buried by Dad. I know that's what he would want. He nods slowly. And with this, she winks at him and says, Pay me a visit sometime. Don't be a stranger. I promise you, you'll have a better experience than you did here, she says, chuckling. And with this, she waves at him and walks out the door. Alex enjoys the view all the way to her car. She gets in it and she drives away. He looks to the card and chuckles lightly. And with this, he says to himself, Well, Sarah, I hope you're proud of me for trying. At least I didn't let someone else die. I wish I could have helped Michael a little better, though. He was a good kid. He didn't deserve what he got. I'm trying to make things right by him, too. He puts the card in his wallet and stands. He knows for a fact Mr. Blackfeather, his mentor, his comrade, the man he calls father, practically, will be more than willing to work with him. Alex is tired. He seeks a better path. All of this killing, he's done. At least for this moment. He walks out to his Jeep, fires it up. He has no idea where he'll be going. He just prays that as the sun rises, so will his future. Earl Beatty is surfing the pink wave of satisfaction all the way to Dallas. It's been roughly 4 months, but he was able to escape that mess in that damn town. He misses his father, but in the end, he's kind of glad that whatever happened didn't happen to him. He'd like to thank that little bastard who broke his jaw the way he did with a bullet in the face. But him being forced to lay low actually allowed the authorities to pass right over him. At least that's what he figures. He didn't know why the feds were asking him as few questions as they did, but they simply ignored him and then let him go. Well, he's seen so many of his associates, of course, put in prison. He shrugs broad shoulders, even now, knocking back another round of scotch. The bartender says, "Hey, man, that woman over there, she's been really checking you out." "Really?" "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk to her?" the bartender says, smirking. Earl shrugs broad shoulders and figures, what the hell? The redhead is actually possibly the most beautiful woman he's seen in his life. She's stunning, almost angelic in her appearance. Tall, too, damn near as tall as he is. He can live with that. With this, taps her on the shoulder. "A friend of mine over there says you were checking me out." "What's your name?" "Marie." Mirrored and Triculos lies to him. "You have an Irish accent there. From Ireland or Scotland?" She rolls her eyes and very calmly meets his gaze. "I am from Dublin." She lies again. "Okay, Marie. My name is Earl. I am the Earl of this fine establishment." "I can tell that." She once more meets his gaze and grabs him, allowing the skin-to-skin contact, of course, to engage in its full control of his mind as she works her way into his thoughts. She speaks very softly. "I'm going to give you the ride of your life. A time you will never forget, if you will follow me." She winks to the bartender, who smirks and nods. This guy was an asshole, a pig from day one. He'll be glad to get rid of him, and yes, he knows what she is. She very gently leads the big man outside to an alleyway. And with this, Earl's mind begins to clear. This woman is too strong. She's pressing with too much force. Well, normally, he'd be begging for something like this. This is different. He's had more than one experience with a very attractive woman. He himself is not a bad-looking man. At least they'll get him in the door before they saw what a kind of tarantula he was deep inside. But when he sees her eyes turn black and her fangs drop, he cannot scream. She bites down, ripping out his throat, drinking deeply. And with this, he breathes his last, as she sucks away all of his life force. She wipes her lips as the troubled husk drops to her feet. She pulls out her phone. "Miss Abernathy, I just wanted to let you know it's done. You always did very well by me. You were one of my best workers," she says softly. "You do not need to worry. He will not be found. Keep up what you're doing. I guarantee you, I'll have work for you very soon." She says to the PI, in which she has dealings with on the phone. She very calmly turns it off and looks at the corpse. She shakes her head in disgust. Men like this she's dealt with all of her life. She grabs him by the scruff and drags the corpse away to a car in which she was very easily able to appropriate from another contact. She throws the corpse into the trunk and slams it shut. Sometimes what she does troubles her. In moments like this, not at all. And thus concludes Werewolf Hunter, Chapter 2. I look forward to releasing more content as time passes on. But for now, my friends, be blessed and be safe.